Welcome to Oklahoma Gardening. Well, the Christmas shopping season is in full tilt now, and if you're like me, you're probably getting frustrated with those crowded shopping malls. As an alternative, go to your local garden center or nursery. They have plenty of time to help you pick out just the right gifts for your garden. And today we're here with Walter Barham from Binding Stevens in Tulsa. And Walter, looks like you've got a huge selection.
Yeah, we have a nice selection of gifts that is real interesting for all the gardeners. They're all useful gifts, really inexpensive, and something that'll make it a lot more fun and a lot easier for all the gardeners to do their work.
Well, good. And what do you have there?
This is a dandelion weeder where you don't want to spray or something. You can take this, cut off that nasty weed down, cut the root off, eliminate spraying. Then for planting your bulbs or working around your flowers, we have the little hand trowels here that does a real good job.
Well, those are real nice. And I see you've got some super duper ones over here.
We also have these longer handle ones.
Boy.
These are stainless steel. They're Sheffield steel made in England.
Well,
and if you want the ultimate in garden tools, this is what you need.
Boy, those are really dandy. Well, these are things that don't cost a whole lot, but they sure would help the gardeners.
Absolutely.
And of course, if you're on a budget, even an extra pair of gloves.
Always needing gloves. You're always needing gloves.
They wear out. They don't last forever. Well, some other garden tools you might think about are rakes, and looks like you've got two sizes here, Walter. Tell me about these.
Yeah, well, the small one you have there is what we call a shrub rake. This is getting in around the shrubs and bushes and things where you can't get your big ones. You still get your leaves in there.
Sure.
That reaches in around and works all those leaves out. Then you can get it with your big one.
Yeah, that saves some time.
Then we have the big one here for out in the yard to do the leaf raking whenever this wind blows them off this fall.
Well, sure. Well, now some other things that people might not even consider as a garden tool, but this will sure save your back.
That is a little dandy.
Yeah, that's a pecan picker-upper. And it's a heavy steel spring, and what you do is just go around and push that on pecans, and they'll be popped up into the coil. And that'd hold, what, about a pint of pecans, you'd say?
I'd say a pint to a quart, yes.
It would sure save stooping over. Then to avoid getting up on a ladder, we've got a real handy tool up here. It is a
fruit
picker. And that'll get those apples off the tree that are way up on a branch if you're not growing dwarf trees. Now, snow is coming. What do you have for shoveling snow?
Hey, we have a dandy here. Most people says, oh, my aching back. Well, now they've developed one that takes the ache out of your back because they have the bend in the shovel where when you scoop the snow up, you do not have to bend. The shovel does the bending for you. And that really makes it a lot easier to shovel the snow.
Yeah,
saves the back.
Nice.
Then, here's a new item that came out this year. You're out in your car and you get stalled in the snow and you never have nothing to get out with. We have a little collapsible shovel here. It can be taken apart, stored in your trunk. When you get stuck or something, you just put it together, shovel the snow out from under your wheels. You're on your way, get through, we'll just put it back. Takes up no room, but it's light and it's really handy.
Boy, that's neat. Well, now these are all hand tools. We've also got a couple of power tools, and of course, when you think about power tools, you think about lawnmowers and some of the more expensive items.
Right.
But weed trimmers are always handy, and also, I guess the big item are these leaf blowers.
Yeah, this is a new item that came out from Black & Decker. It's a rechargeable deal for blowing off, sweeping your lawn, or not your lawn, your patio, your driveway, your garage. It's rechargeable, light. Now it won't do the work out in the yard, but if there's a few leaves scattered on your patio or your drive, it'll blow those off. Now for the leaves out in the yard, we have this one is a weed eater. We carry the Weed Eater brand that uses an electric cord. Now this developed up to 110 mile per hour velocity, and it's real good for blowing leaves. It'll blow it out from around your shrubbery, out in the yard where you can blow them, pile them up, and then pick them up and put them into your compost pile. But it's a real dandy. It does take a cord, but it has a lot of power to it.
Well,
makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, save a lot of time. Well, you know, when you're using power tools, we always recommend that you use goggles, and American Optical has made safety a little funner this year. They've got them in jelly bean colors. And these are purple goggles.
Very attractive.
For keeping the dust and bits of grit out of your eyes when you're working with power equipment, so that's handy too. Well, Walter, it looks like there's a lot to look at here. I'm going to show our folks around the store and show them what our garden centers and nurseries have available.
That'll be
Christmas.
fine.
Thank you. As I was strolling down the aisle with the power tools, I noticed some replacement blades and some extra weed eater line. These are good stocking stuffers to go with some of those power tools to make the job a little easier once these things start to wear out or run out. Now here are a few other things that you might want to use as gifts for the gardener. This is a pruning saw. It's not your average saw that you use for cutting wood. It cuts on the pull stroke. So if you've got a limb up above you and you're trying to saw it, it works on the pull stroke and makes a much easier job of it. And folding away, it's handy to carry around in the field with you. If you're taking care of newly planted trees, you don't want to forget tree guards. This will prevent damage from weed trimmers, also from wildlife. Now this is the kind that extends the plastic spiral tree guard. These are made of foam and they just wrap around it. And of course you can also use the craft paper type tree wrap. A great big roll of this is only $6 and that'll do a lot of trees. So those are good items for the gardener. Don't forget hand shears for trimming around small areas and possibly a new set of loppers. That'll make the job of pruning those fruit trees in the spring a lot easier. Well, when it comes to watering the garden, there are a lot of things that you can use. Of course, a replacement hose is always handy. Hoses wear out. This is a soak and spray garden soaking hose, and that'd be handy for those areas that need a fine mist and high humidity. Now, if you ever have to wrestle with a garden hose like I do, you might want to think about getting a hose carrier. This is $5.99. That's not very expensive, and it'll really help your gardener have an easier time of it. It's made of nylon webbing, and it's just a strap that wraps around the garden hose, and they can carry it just like a suitcase. So that might be a good item. If you have small transplants that you want to water, here's a handy watering can that has a nozzle that shoots the water up and then over to give a very gentle rain. And of course, a regular watering can is handy too. Now, some other watering items that will make your job easier in the garden are a rain wand. If you have a garden bed that you want to water by hand but don't want to have to stoop way over to get to, you might try that. Or if you have hanging baskets that are hard to reach and you don't want the water running down your arm, try a hanging basket wand. This is shaped like a shepherd's crook and it'll help you get to those hard to reach places. And of course, things like nozzles always get lost, or extra sprinklers, replacement parts for hoses. Those are all good things that will help your gardener have an easier time of it. And to save time in the garden, you might try a garden water timer. Now this one is set for 4 different programs, so it can come on 4 different times during the week. If you're planning an extended vacation in July and August, this would be indispensable for setting the time and having the water come on for your garden at the right time while you're gone. Last of all, this is what's called a porta shower. And if you're out in the garden and dusty and dirty and don't want to have to track mud into the house, or if you want to keep little ones from doing the same thing, you can hook this up to your garden hose and shower off before you go in the house. And whether you leave your clothes on or not is up to you, but it's sure a handy item. Well, there are a lot of other things to look at around this garden center. Let's go take a look at the seed packets. Gardeners always need fresh seed every year, and that's a good idea for little stocking stuffers for the holidays. Now, if you want to put together a collection of garden seed to help your gardener, you might look over the racks of vegetable seed. Fresh seed is coming in right now for the '89 season. If they're a flower gardener, you might consider putting together a collection of dried flowers, such as statice, baby's breath, yarrow. Those are all everlasting so that they can grow next summer out in full sun and save and make wreaths next fall that will last through the winter time. If they're into wildflower gardening, you could put together a collection of wildflower seed. Now, some companies are coming out with pre-selected wildflowers for your area. Here's a can that contains a mix of wildflowers for Texas and Oklahoma. So those are ones that you'll know will grow well here. Now, if you want some selections for indoors, here's a prepackaged window herb garden. It has the container, the soil, the seed, everything, all in one container. If you have small children that you want to get interested in gardening, here's the colorful way to do it. This is the child's garden, and it contains a garden plan and seeds such as sunflowers and lettuce, quick, easy things to grow, and a handy booklet on how to grow those crops. Now this year, Burpee has come out with something really neat. It is a pre-designed garden, and they have about 8 or 12 of them available. Anything from a semi-shade garden selection, an herb garden, a garden that contains only purple flowers or only pink. The heights are already pre-selected, and they're seeds that will grow well in our area. It also includes a label and a map and instructions on how to grow those crops, as well as the seed, of course. So that's something you might want to try. Now over here we have a few other ideas for the gardener. If they like to grow their own transplants or do propagation of woody plants, some starter fertilizer is always handy. You run through that quickly every year. Some Rootone rooting powder if you want to do your own woody ornamentals. That'll help them root more quickly. Also, how about a nylon trellis? This you can put up, hang from a wall, and grow cucumbers on it or some other vining crops and save space. If you get crooked rows or can't sight straight on your own, you might try this adjustable garden reel. It's just orange string on a reel, has a post at the other end, so you can have perfectly straight rows every time. And a tray to carry garden tools in is always helpful. And these little plastic type trays you could get at most any hobby store, but your garden center also carries those, and they're handy for carrying packets of seed, tools, all those things that tend to fall out of your pockets when you're out in the garden. Now this gadget is a jumbo rain gauge, and I really like this. You can mount it on a fence yards away from your house and still see how many inches of rain you got, because there's a plastic float in there that will float up to 1 inch or 2 inches of rain. It's pre-calibrated. Even though these increments look rather large, it will collect up to the equivalent of a 5-inch rain, and you can read it from a long distance away. So if you're worried about rising waters and need to get the boat out, this will be a handy thing to have. Now some things that will save wear and tear on gardeners are knee pads. There are various kinds available that strap on to your knees, anywhere from the plastic foam type to hard rubber. Saves wear and tear on clothing too. And also those plastic or foam kneeler pads that you can carry around the garden are handy. Last of all, labels are always useful for labeling plants. Dust masks if you're using power equipment. And if you're working out in the heat, sweatbands are great. This is $1.39, doesn't cost much, and be a good stocking stuffer.